Hey, what's up, Boardwalk Empire fans? Kino here, and we're back with a whole new season of Boardwalk Empire. Season 3 out of 5. And this first episode is called Resolutions. It takes place on New Year's Eve, right before, I think, 1923. So, I'm not familiar with my history. Is this before the Great Depression? I think it is. So maybe we're going to get to see that. Or maybe the Depression was 1922. I don't know, to be honest. But this show obviously deals with a lot of historical context, a lot of real life stuff going on. And in this episode, we get kind of a hint at some of that. We'll talk about it more at the end. But definitely the historical context is one of the cool things about this show. I feel like those last two videos I've done, I've kind of talked down on the show a lot about its flaws, and it has those, and there's flaws in this episode I'm going to talk about, but it is still cool to just kind of see the time period and see the different historical figures, and I'm hoping now that we've kind of dealt with a lot of the Boardwalk storyline that we're going to get to see more and more of like the New York guys, the Chicago guys, and it does kind of look like that this season. But first things first, I wanted to praise the music in the show. I know I said I didn't really like the theme song that much. It's a good song, but it's just not. It didn't feel like appropriate to the 1920s. But a lot of the season premieres and endings have these montages with 1920s flapper kind of music, like Eddie Cantor or whatever, who's in this episode, the montages are always really cool to see. So, but the first thing we have is the introduction of a new character. His name is Rossetti, I think. He is a gangster from New York. Okay, I'm getting distracted. I'm getting my thoughts about him all together, but I want to just say the storyline. So, the first scene we have him, his car breaks down on the road to Atlantic City, and this guy comes and helps him, and the guy says one little thing that could kind of be taken as an insult, and then he kills him, which it tells you a lot about his character. But I was gonna say that I wish that he hadn't killed that guy, because I could feel the tension from that scene already. It was already clear that this guy was dangerous. Even from when I saw that guy pull up, I was instantly oh, he might kill you. Just because the way they frame the scene, the way they set up the tension, it's kind of being telegraphed that this guy's dangerous. I wish the show would have had a little bit more restraint and not had him just kill that guy. I feel like it would have made him more dangerous. It reminds me a lot of the scene from No Country for Old Men when Anton Chigurh is talking with the gas station owner, and he doesn't kill him in that scene. He flips the coin and lets him go. But because he doesn't actually kill him, it's more suspenseful and more scary, because it's just like the horror movie idea. When you don't see it happen, your imagination kind of runs wild, and it makes Anton all the more intimidating when he doesn't actually kill this guy, and it's just left to your mind of oh, he could have, and it makes him seem more dangerous. So, little small detail, but as I watched that, I was oh, this would have been a little bit better if he hadn't killed him and set up the dangerous stuff he's going to do later on. But we would get a hint of it here. But later on, he goes to Nucky's New Year's party. He wants to buy alcohol from Nucky, and Nucky refuses. From now on, he's only going to sell directly to Arnold Rothstein, and he goes on this whole tirade against everyone. He's got a lot of really rude comments, which is pretty funny to hear some of those. But definitely a guy who kind of flies off the handle. So there's going to be conflict. I think he's going to be probably the main villain of the season. Just because, they're introducing him like this. So, we'll see, though. I don't know. Maybe they'll kill him off pretty quick or something. But regardless, we've got that going on. We've got Richard Harrow, who is living with Jillian now that Jimmy's dead. She's got like this whorehouse she's running, and he's kind of bonding with Jimmy's son, and he learns that Jillian has kind of made him forget about his mother, Angela, and insists that she's his mother. Obviously Richard, really liked Angela. She was a kind soul. She was kind to him, and he doesn't want the son to forget about it. He listens to Jillian and listens to what she says, but at the end of the episode, he goes and kills Manny Horowitz, which I was really glad for. I liked Manny, to be honest. I felt the way Jimmy treated him was not good, but the fact that he killed Angelo I thought was very shitty, and he deserves to die. And it was awesome to just have Richard just take him. I love Richard. If they kill off Richard on this show, I swear to fucking God, I'm going to be pissed. You guys know if you watch the show or not. I felt the same way about Omar. If you guys remember my Wire reaction when they killed him, spoiler alert, I was just like, fuck this show. If they kill Richard, my God, I'm going to be pissed. But regardless, we also have... we learned about what happened with Nucky and Margaret. So at the beginning of the episode, they're still together and all happy and stuff. And I was like, did they just forget about that plot line last season where she gave away all his land? But no, apparently they're together for like appearances, and he's become like this major philanthropist. But he's pissed at her for giving away his money, and they basically don't live together anymore. He's sleeping with this new girl, the flapper girl who was singing with Eddie Cantor. And we see their relationship is very fractured, which makes sense. I mean, although he still has a ton of money because he gave away like diamonds at his like little party. So he's not hurting or anything, but I would definitely be pissed off too if I lost out on millions of dollars. But it'll be interesting to see where the relationship goes because we see the cracks forming. I think they're going to do something with Margaret this season where she's going to kind of become independent and become like a strong female character, whatever that means. Because at the end, like one of the things throughout this episode, the historical thing is they had the first kind of female aviator who's going to be flying across the country, which I think is a real thing. I'm not 100% sure, but she watches at the end. I think she's going to be inspired to be like, doing her own thing with the hospital, with, helping women with pregnancy, whatever. So we've got all that going on. And then we also have Van Alden, who is in Chicago. So he's going to have some kind of run-in with Al Capone. I know that. I mean, he does in this episode. He's a salesperson, which, oh my God, do sales jobs just kind of fill me with dread. Just even watching those. It's just so, you have to put yourself out there and just like, it's not demeaning or anything. Like I've worked sales before, but it's just like heartbreaking when there's all these quotas and stuff and you're not getting there. He ends up, saving Dean O'Bannon, who I think is a real figure too, an Irish gangster, and he kind of has Dean's friendship, and so I think he'll probably go work for him. Maybe he'll get into some conflict with Al Capone. We'll see. But he's married that nurse who was taking care of his daughter. And I think they have a new son together. So he's doing all right for himself. Like struggling financially, but I mean he's got a new woman in his life, a new kid, and I don't know. I know Van Alden. I know it's not going to end well. He's just too crazy, but he's got some good things going on with his life, and I always enjoy watching Van Alden. So that's pretty much this episode. I'm interested to see where the season goes, but I think we've got a lot of interesting conflicts and setups coming. So I'll talk to you guys when we watch the next episode. What's up, Boardwalk Empire fans? Kino here, and we're back with another reaction. It's the same day, I'm just watching another episode. And now we're looking at the second episode of Season 3, Spaghetti and Coffee. This is a pretty interesting episode. We've got a number of kind of interesting developments happening. Number one, Eli is released from prison. So At the end of last season, Nucky basically made him take the fall for everything, and he went to prison, I think, for like a year. And so he's released, but now he has to work for Mickey Doyle. So that's pretty funny that, he was like a boss of Atlantic City, and now he's very much lower on a totem pole. He goes back home too, and he sees that like his family's glad to see him, like they're glad to have him back, but his oldest son specifically has kind of had to step up and like help the family while he was gone, and now it's a little weird now that he's back. So it'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere, if that's like an actual plot line they do, or sometimes, to be honest, some of these things are just like episode conflicts, and it's not really, it doesn't go further than that, at least in the season. Another kind of example of that is what's happening with Chalky and his family, but we'll cover that in a second. As part of this, as part of working for Mickey Doyle, Eli's helping Owen and them escort liquor through to New York. It's Arnold Rothstein's shipment. Now, they have to go through this city called Tarboro Heights, I think, in New Jersey. It's like the last like gas stop until you get to New York. And so Rossetti is there, and he's kind of taken over the town. He's wanting to get revenge on Nucky, and so he's kind of messing with his shipments because they all have to go through that city in order to get to New York. So he kind of has a stranglehold on like cutting off the supply of liquor to New York. I'm wondering why he didn't just like shoot them up, but there were a lot of guys there, to be honest. There was, I think, at least like 16 guys, so probably doesn't want to attract that much attention, but definitely he's messing with Nucky for not selling him liquor, and this is a way to kind of drive a wedge between him and Rothstein, because we already know, Nucky has fucked up the shipments in the past, so I could see conflict between Rothstein when he doesn't get his liquor because he needs it for all his, illegal activities. So, pretty interesting strategy there. The title comes from the fact that he was eating spaghetti and coffee in this diner. Very Americanized spaghetti, so not at all like what they're used to in Italy. But spaghetti and coffee kind of sounds like not that good of a combination. I don't know, maybe, but if it's good coffee and good spaghetti, but I don't think either of those were. So, but regardless, that we have that happening. We've got Margaret again doing her kind of storyline. She feels guilty about something, and now she's got to go fix it. This time it's the hospital. I don't know. Margaret's storyline. It's interesting to see her. I was thinking in this episode, it was interesting to see her. Like, the actions she's taking specifically are not that interesting, but kind of her development from, kind of a poor, humble kind of girl to like this spoiled, rich princess to now this kind of guilt-ridden, rich person who's trying to do good. It's kind of interesting to see. It's very similar to like, Carmela and her causes. Although with Carmela, it was more like trying to make herself feel better or trying to make herself seem more important than she was. Whereas here it kind of comes from guilt, but it's like that kind of, it's like a different take on Carmela's like archetype of like the wife of the gangster who, uses the money and all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting to just kind of to think of those comparisons, but we've got Nucky being with the flapper girl, like Billy Kent, I think her name is, he is getting jealous, I think, of that she's like flirty with all these men and stuff like that, which, I mean, come on, dude, you're married. I know you have your problems with your wife, but you know how this goes. He's getting a little bit possessive of her, so we'll see how that goes. And then lastly, I think of the storyline with Chalky that I was talking about. So the doctor kid who was wanting to marry his daughter asked for her hand, and Chalky approves. Um, and but the daughter in this case does not want to marry him, which I I I don't remember that being from when we saw them in the second season. I don't know. Chalky, it feels like he only gets like 1 or 2 episodes a season. I wish we would see him more, especially doing more like criminal stuff. Because I don't know, his family stuff's all right. It's whatever. But I really am interested in seeing like him pop off as like a criminal. So maybe we'll get that this season. Who knows? But the daughter does not want to marry the boy because he's like boring. He's like this perfect kid. So. And she kind of wants someone more like her dad, which, not to sound gross or anything, she just wants someone like interesting and like, like a bad guy like her dad is. So read into that what you want, folks. But in this episode, they go to a club that he's at. Apparently, he didn't know she was there, so I guess I don't know. I didn't really understand that setup. I guess they just went there to like hang out. I don't know if I missed something or not too, because he also seemed to know that she didn't want to marry him, which I don't know how he would know that unless she was like maybe acting cold. I don't know. I felt like I missed a scene or something where I don't know. That whole setup just felt like out of nowhere. But regardless, they're in there. Some guy like cuts his face, and then Chalky finds out they're there and sends him home. So maybe she'll end up liking the guy because he's more like her dad now. One, because even though he was attacked, he went to go help that dude, showing he's got like a kind of bravery to himself. But also he's got a scar on his cheek now from the cut. So quite literally like her father. But I don't know. It was an interesting little storyline there. That's not what I would have expected. Did we be focusing on this episode as like Chalky's daughter and stuff like that? But like I said, I love Chalky's scenes. I want to see more of him because he's amazing. So no. Hopefully we'll get more this season. But regardless, that is pretty much everything that at least I can remember happening this episode. So we'll check out the next one soon, and I'll talk to you guys then. All right, I feel like at the beginning of every single one of these videos, I always say, what's up, Boardwalk Empire fans? But I think it's getting kind of old because all these videos are like back to back. So I'm going to try not to say that, although I'm just kind of like in the habit of saying it because for a lot of these videos, it's not back to back recording for me. So I kind of forget that I said it before. But regardless, we're watching another episode. This time it's the third episode of the third season, Bone for Tuna, which is Bona Fortuna, the Italian greeting. I probably pronounced that wrong too, but that's a plot point this episode. So basically, Nucky is getting an award for his donation to the church. Again, it was Margaret that gave away all his land to the church and kind of forced him into this position. But they had to kind of still make appearances together. And during this whole time, Nucky's having like hallucinations and bad dreams about a kid who got shot in the face, which is obviously Jimmy. He's feeling guilty about it. And so it's messing with him, and to top it off, the girl he's sleeping with, Billy Kent, is kind of not answering his calls. Again, she's a young girl, and she's out with other guys a bunch, and I think he's looking for a distraction from all of that. And now that she's not around at this moment, he kind of has to face the reality of like what he's done, and it's messing with him a lot. So. At the end of the episode, he sees her again, and seems happier when she's around. But again, it's just he doesn't want to think about the fact that he killed Jimmy, who was really like a son to him in some ways. Again, just like kind of Tony and Christopher and Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, it's a toxic relationship, and it's not very good. But it still pains him to think about, what he did, even when he thought it was right in the moment. We have that going on, and then he also, on top of that, has a conflict with Gyp Rossetti. So he offers to give him some alcohol to kind of smooth things over and go back to New York. And we see that Gyp is like so fucking like sensitive, right? He will just take any little thing as like an insult, and the fact that Nucky doesn't come to see him off, and he says bone for Tuna, which again is a mispronunciation of good luck. He takes as a real insult and decides he's gonna stay in Tarboro Heights and still fuck with people. At the end, he sets the sheriff on fire, which is a little bit like, come on, man. We get you're dangerous. It's a little too overindulgent. Like I said that before in his first like interaction. I was like, I wish it was a little bit not so in your face, because it kind of makes it more goofier. I was like, come on, you're gonna set this guy on fire. I get it. He's dangerous and unhinged, and he's kind of I don't want to say stupid, but just he doesn't think things through, which is probably why I imagine he's gonna lose in the end. I mean, come on, he's not gonna kill Nucky. No one's gonna kill Nucky, at least till maybe the end of the series. Who knows? But they're gonna work something out, or he's gonna get killed, or something's going on. I don't know what yet, but he doesn't think things through enough to be like a real kind of threat in a way that someone like Rothstein was. But even he, wasn't a huge threat. But regardless, we have, those storylines going on. We also have Richard Harrow, who hears that, what's his name? Mickey Doyle took credit for killing Manny Horowitz, and then he breaks in and, holds him at gunpoint and stuff, and tells Nucky that he killed Manny, which I wasn't exactly sure why he did it. He doesn't seem to have any resentment for Nucky killing Jimmy, because Jimmy was a soldier and it was a war between them, and he still has affection for Nucky and Margaret, so he doesn't want to go after them. But it was Angela who he really connected with and treated him well, and that's why he had to kill Manny, which again I was glad to see that. I wonder if he'll go work for Nucky. I kind of expected Nucky to offer him a job. Maybe at sometime in this season he'll offer him a job. Maybe going up against Rossetti, because we know it's going to come to conflict between these two. It already has, but it's going to come to like a shootout or something. So maybe Richard will work for him there. But that's pretty much everything going on. Again, we have Margaret doing her really boring storyline of the fucking women's clinic. It's a good thing to have. It's like it's a boring storyline, to be honest. I'm not really concerned about it yet. Maybe it'll pop off, who knows? But I'm like I said, the only interesting thing about it was just the fact that it's kind of her evolution, right, from just a poor humble woman to this kind of matronly charitable person has been interesting, because again we saw Carmela's charities right in Sopranos, and we're seeing like the beginning of how that kind of relationship forms, because we got to see Nucky and her get together from the beginning, whereas Tony and Carmela were already married for a long time and they were already in this space. So we're seeing like the friction between husband and wife like that, and the wife using the husband's money for all these charities and everything like that. So again, just it's an interesting contrast to someone like Carmela. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say about this episode, and we'll check out the next one soon. So talk to you guys then. Okay, we're back with another episode review. Now we're looking at the fourth episode of season 3, Bluebell Boy. Now this is a kind of interesting episode because it's a little bit like a bottle episode. At least in terms of Nucky's storyline, it's like he gets trapped in one location. they find the Roland Smith that they were looking for, the guy who robbed them. But it turns out it's this young kid. He's 19 years old, as we learn at the end, but they kind of think he's even younger during the episode. And they track him down to his house where he's stolen like all this liquor. And before they can like kill him, though, and Nucky's there too, a bunch of Prohibition agents come who are working for Waxy Gordon, and they're there to kill the kid and get the liquor back. So the three of them, Nucky, Owen, and the kid, have to hide in the basement the entire episode. And, you know, they kind of talk and bond a little bit while they're down there. And the kid, you know, he's got a lot of moxie. You know, he's very, you know, charismatic, and he wants to work for Nucky. And it looks like Nucky's about to say yes, but then at the end he blows the kid's brains out. As kind of a message to Owen, I think, to be like, don't question me, don't second guess me, I'm like the boss. Which I could see coming. You know, I was like, oh, they're acting too nice to each other. It's not gonna. They're gonna pull the rug out of it. But it's an interesting episode. I like bottle episodes, to be honest, where they're in one location and it's just kind of character development. You know, it's interspliced with all the other storylines, so I don't think it's as effective like a bottle premise as like something like The Fly from Breaking Bad, which is all, you know, one location pretty much. But it was still, you know, some good character development for Nucky. Again, he's been dealing with this whole season of like the guilt he feels for killing Jimmy. Again, a young kid who he kind of, you know, thought of like a son. And, you know, it's a question of how he's going to deal with it. And in this case, he's choosing to double down and kind of, you know, bury his feelings. So that was an interesting storyline going on. The other main plot we have going on was with Al Capone, which is great to see. I always love the other gangsters, like I said. And we get some more Luciano, which I'll talk about here. But first off, Al Capone has this like fat guy who's like one of his, you know, henchmen or whatever, and the dude gets beaten up by one of Dean O'Bannon's guys, and makes fun of him. He's like a bully, and this hits home with Al because his son is getting bullied at his, you know, his deaf school. So, you know, this really gets under his skin, and so he just brutally beats the guy who hurt his guy down. And like I said, we get to see that. We get to see like a softer side to Al Capone than we usually see in film. Like they're really emphasizing his relationship with his son, his kind of. I'm not saying he's not a bad person because we know Al Capone, right? He is a bad person, but we get to see a lot of his like caring, emotional side in this series, which is really cool to see. Also, we get to see another side of like Luciano and Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel when they're young kids and just getting started. I saw the scene with between Luciano and Masseria. It was one of those clips I watched like way before the series, and I didn't really have context for it, but I love the dialogue. Even not knowing the plot, I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic dialogue. When he's like, you know, I don't even know your name anymore because, you know, he was Salvatore Lucana, I think, and Charlie Luciano. He had two names. So great hint at that. And then also he's like, you know, we're far apart, Joe. And then he's like, we're 2 feet apart from each other. It's like very, very threatening dialogue without coming out and being like, ugh, you know, about it. Same reason why I didn't like some of the Gyp Rossetti stuff is because it was too much like in your face about it, where I was like, if you're a little bit more quiet about it, you're a lot more sinister. Like Joe Masseria comes off as like really sinister. So great, fantastic scene, and I love all the Luciano stuff. I hope we get to see more of him. We have Margaret's, again, her storyline, which is really boring. The only interesting thing that I thought about it was at the end, she sees a newspaper article about the female aviatrix that they hinted in the first episode, and it says that she crashed and died. So I think that's a hint at like Margaret, because her whole thing this season thematically was like kind of stepping up and being empowered a little bit away from Nucky. But is it going to work out, or is it going to crash and burn? So we'll see, but I have my thoughts. The last thing was, again, Gyp Rossetti ambushes the caravan again. Eli tried to save them, but he couldn't because they wouldn't listen to him. So I think this might lead to Eli being put in a position of power again, because he can't trust Mickey Doyle. Mickey's an idiot. So he's going to need someone who has the brains to see the operation through. But it's a question of, will Nucky trust him or not? But I think he's going to have to learn to rely on people, because, again, he just keeps pushing people away from him, and it's making him weaker. But that's pretty much everything I had to say about this episode. Pretty exciting one. And I can't wait to see some more of these conflicts emerging. So we'll check out the next one soon here. So talk to you guys then. All right, we're back with another episode. This time we're looking at the 5th episode of Season 3, You'd Be Surprised. Definitely a very surprising end sequence there for more than one reason. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So to start things off, I always say this, there's a bunch of different storylines happening. One, let's just knock out Margaret's, because like I've been saying this whole time, it's not super interesting. She puts on her women's clinic. She butts heads with the nun who wants it to be, more conservative. I think she's gonna have like another romance with the doctor this time, because they introduced the doctor's fiance and she looked all jealous. So plus in this episode she sees Nucky with his new girlfriend, which I don't know. I get that he's settled down with Margaret, and so it's like she's his wife now, but I don't know, it always still kind of felt to me like she was his mistress still. I know technically they're married now, but it always just kind of felt like a marriage of money and convenience. I mean, literally, like, wasn't that what they first started as? Like, she even told one of the other people, like, I'm just the side chick. Not that he has a main chick. He's not with another woman, but I don't know. It just, I get it. They're married, and so it's more of like an insult, but I don't really necessarily see what he has to be guilty about, because, she knew who he was when he got into this. Not even like just in the sense that like, Tony says to Carmela, but literally like he paid her for sex basically, or like companionship, if we want to use that word. So I don't know. It's just it's a weird little conflict to me that I don't really care too much about. Beyond that, we have Nucky forcing Eddie Cantor to be in Billy Kent's new show. Again, I don't know. It's a fine subplot. Who cares? The much more interesting stuff is, of course, the gangster stuff. So we've got Gyp Rossetti has been. Oh, I'm sorry, one of my lights turned off there. So it's a little bit darker now. But we have Gyp Rossetti kind of blocking any kind of trade going to New York from Atlantic City. And this puts Arnold Rothstein in a bad position. He's pissed off at Nucky for fucking things up again. Like he did that the first season, right? He fucked up the shipment, and there's no excuses, right? If I didn't get my product, like, I want my money back or whatever. So despite all that, though, Rothstein meets with Gyp Rossetti, but it's actually a covert operation basically to kill him, which they try to do at the end. It's Bugsy. I love Bugsy. He's so funny. He's just crazy. I love it. But he shoots Rossetti while he's having the choking. He's into like choking sex. We learned in this at the beginning of this episode. He likes to be choked with the belt. As if we needed more of a reason to realize how fucked up he is. But they shoot at him, but they end up killing the girl. And at the end, he's just walking around with his dick out, covered in blood. It's actually been a cool minute since I've seen HBO use dicks. Like, remember at the beginning in season 1 of Game of Thrones, they showed the guy's dick like in the first few episodes, and then they stopped. And it would only show women after that. Or there'd be occasional like joke scenes with a dick or whatever. But Oz showed the dick, but they kind of stopped after a while and just started showing women exclusively because. I think they realized that, guys want to see naked women, and that's the majority of who watches HBO. And I think most women actually don't really like watching the dick either. But it was, I was like, okay, I guess we're going to show that. Given how much like naked women we see on this show, it's, at least it's equal, But this show is like gratuitous with the nudity. Like even The Sopranos wasn't this much, but like every opening scene almost has like a naked chick in it, because they want to hook your attention, right? But it's those storylines are heating up, and we know Jip's gonna go to war now with everyone, because of all this. So we'll see how it works out, especially because we learn he's actually connected to Masseria, in New York. So. I wonder if this will bring all the Italians in the war against Rothstein and Nucky Thompson, but we'll see. And then the last storyline happening was with Van Alden. So the Prohibition agent who he ran into at the Speakeasy last episode, or it might have been 2 episodes ago, I forget which one. He's been leaving kind of like weird, like leaving his business card at his work and stuff in his home. And so Van Alden thinks that he's onto him, is like coming to arrest him. And he shows up at his house, and he's acting all like, what's the word? Like, intimidating or whatever. But it's actually just, he just wanted a refund on his iron because Van Alden sold him an iron that broke. But right as he realizes this, his new wife comes and like bashes the guy over the head. Really funny scene because it just did not have to happen this way. But now, there's the other light turning off. They're battery powered, and I haven't charged them. Now he has to kill this dude because of his wife. I gotta say though, I really like his new wife. That's like a ride or die girl. She like instantly is like, I'll grab his legs, you suffocate him to death. Like no chill on this girl at all. Like. I hope they stay together, but we'll see. I don't know. But like she's down. Like she's down to take care of these guys. So then he has to go to Dean O'Bannon and dispose of the bodies. So he's probably gonna end up working for Dean. So I think this is how he's gonna get sucked into like being a part of like the criminal world, because he's got to be a part of that world. It's just he was already messing with it a little bit in Atlantic City, and now he's got to go even further into this. So it's Van Alden's whole kind of tragic fate, but one of the more interesting characters on the show. So anyway, that's pretty much everything I had to say about this episode, and we'll check out the next one soon. So talk to you guys then. All right, we're back with another episode. I've been knocking a bunch out today, and now we've just watched the 6th episode of season 3. Ging, Goolie, I think it's called, which I think is like a children's like rhyme or song or something. They were singing it at the Boy Scouts thing. Again, a lot of these like historical references would probably be more clear if I like read the background stuff and the behind the scenes details of the episodes, which I'm not going to do until I'm done with the whole series. So a lot of them are probably going to go over my head, but this episode, definitely a quieter one from the last one. Like Rossetti has kind of disappeared, or he's fled back to New York. because, a lot of his guys got killed. So, we haven't got the escalation of the war, but we know it's coming. It's about, we're halfway done with the season now, so we know it's going to heat up here towards the end. But for the main part, we've got, a number of different storylines happening. The first is, of course, that Nucky is basically the Attorney General, Harry Doherty, is going after Nucky because he's getting investigated for basically corruption because they know he's like involved with the bootleggers. And so he needs to make like an arrest that kind of look like he's doing his job. And so he wants to go after Nucky. And Nucky's fighting him by trying to enter into alliance with the girl who was prosecuting him before. I forget her name, but she's still around. She's she's gotten like not demoted, but like she's been punished basically for messing up the Thompson case, which they wanted to happen because they didn't want Nucky to go to jail. They just kind of were forced to because of politics. So she was kind of basically just screwed over by her bosses. And so he's approaching her and being like, I'm going to give you George Remus, which will help you and it will help me because, it'll get Doherty off my back. And the guy Mr. Means, I don't know what his deal is exactly. He's like, I guess like an underling to Harry Doherty, like a go-between, but he's trying to like negotiate his own deals. Where the hell do I know this guy from? I swear, I don't want to look it up because I just want to realize it, but he looks so familiar. He's on some other show or movie or something. I'm probably gonna look it up after this because it's gonna bother me. But he is basically gonna provide information to Nucky for money. So again, we have another third party here. Don't know what it's gonna all amount to, but Nucky always manages to crawl out of things in the end. On top of that, we've got Margate again. I feel like I've been ragging on her storyline this whole season, but it is one of my most disliked storylines because also it involves Owen again. They sleep together again at the end of the episode. And you guys know how I feel about Owen. I don't like him. He's just too fucking perfect and cool. But there was something interesting with her son who they thought was starting fires, and he is like into fire because he saw Nucky burn down that house, and it kind of left an impression on him. He is a troubled kid. He's got a knife under his bed, just like I've got a knife right here. I just play with these things while I'm thinking of the plot, but he is I just realized that probably means that I'm like a troubled kid too, probably. I never set anything on fire though, that like, just for fun, but they think that he was starting to fire, but it turns out there was a vagrant. But basically she's kind of worried about her son. And again, we see the negative influence that Nucky has had on these kids. Plus he's now absent from their lives, which, they've already lost one father. So, it's not exactly like an AJ Meadow level of like child development storyline here, but it is something to see this kid has like some trouble going on here. But we've got all that going on. We have Jillian being gross. So she is kind of like forced to confront the fact that Jimmy's dead. Like Uncle Junior shows up. I know that's not his name, but to me he'll always be Junior. He shows up and is like, the house doesn't belong to you until you declare Jimmy dead. She is, distraught over that because, she loved him both as a son and a lover, which is gross. But even more gross than that, she finds some guy on the street who looks familiar too. I don't know where I know this guy from. This is going to bother me, but I'll look it up after this. But he kind of looks a little bit like Jimmy, the same kind of like haircut. And she starts having sex with him and calling him Jimmy, and it's gross and weird. And Jillian is a messed up cookie. But like we said before, like I understand why. Like I understand her, like, she was raped at a very young age and basically was robbed of her childhood, and Jimmy is now the only like constant man in her life who helps her out, loves her unconditionally, and it's become this weird, gross relationship with them. But it's an interesting storyline. I don't know if are they going to keep going with it, or is this guy going to stick around? I don't know. Probably will. But we'll see what happens with Jillian. I don't know where her storyline would naturally take her. Like, she's in business with Luciano, kind of. She's running her whorehouse, and she's having to kind of make compromises with it. But we'll see if they do maybe like a female empowerment kind of story like they've been doing with Margaret. Although it would be more interesting than Margaret, just because, like I said, I just don't really find Margaret that enjoyable to watch. Even though she's a great actress. I love the actress. But that is pretty much everything I noticed about this episode. If there's plot lines. Oh, I guess the last thing I'm just remembering off the top of my head is Richard Harrow. There's this fight at the bar between these veterans, and then he helps out the guy who got his ass beat, and then that guy has a daughter, and then maybe it looks like there might be a little something between him and this daughter, because her father and her brother are both veterans. The father actually was a veteran of the Philippines War, which is pretty interesting because I don't know, I've never seen like that portrayed on film before. Like we always get the wars of the 19th century, but we don't often hear about the ones from the 1800s or I don't know when the Philippine War was, the war between the U.S. and Spain. I think it was 1800s, but again, it's cool to see glimpses like into this like pre-history. Like there were guys on the show who saw the Civil War, which is fucking wild to think about. But it's just history kind of overlaps itself like that. But that's pretty much everything I had to say about this episode, and we'll check out the next one pretty soon here. So talk to you guys then. What's up, everyone? Back with another review. This time we're looking at the 7th episode of Season 3, Sunday Best. Now, I watched this episode and then I had to go do something and I had to come back to this later. So I apologize if I forget something because there's a little bit of a gap between when I watched it and when I'm recording this. But this episode, the main storyline I think happening is with Nucky going to visit Eli's family for Easter. It's funny enough, it's actually Easter Sunday tomorrow when I record this. It's Saturday right now, but funny coincidence there. But actually another coincidence was it was St. Patrick's Day when I uploaded, I think, the season 1 or season 2 reaction. And they had a whole St. Patrick's Day a thing there too. So funny coincidences are lining up as I record these. But so he goes to visit Eli's family. They have a pretty good time. And he decides to take Eli back into the fold a little bit. He's going to be running the warehouse alongside Mickey Doyle. Because I think Nucky realizes he needs someone, capable by his side, because Mickey Doyle is definitely not. So they end up reconnecting a little bit and bonding again. It looked for a minute like him and Margaret might get back together, but she's like, it's too late. Which, I mean, I guess it is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't like Margaret's storyline at all. It's so just, I don't know, not interesting. But that's one storyline happening. Another is with Richard Harrow. So he takes, is it Tommy? Jimmy's son. Takes him to go eat dinner at that guy's house, the one who got into a fight at the bar, the one who lost his son. I don't know when did, I guess we just never saw it happen. We're just meant to assume that, like, she invited him over. I guess, trying to get company for her dad, but the daughter has them over for dinner or lunch or whatever it is. And the dad gets into a fight because Tommy was playing with the son's toys who died, and so he didn't like that. But it ended up kind of working out for Richard because he got a chance to bond with that woman who, like the daughter of the guy. So it seems like he might have a love interest in her. She's been around soldiers, so she's not like weirded out by his deformity. So it's a nice. I like to see Richard have something in his life. Although because it's a drama, right? I understand the formula behind it. It's like people don't just get happy endings. So I think there's always gonna be some tragedy coming because that's what keeps it interesting. Speaking of tragedy, we have Jillian with her new boy toy, who I just realized who it was. It's Billy Magnuson, who plays young Paulie in The Many Saints of Newark. So that's how I recognized him. He's in other things too, but so I thought last episode that it was just she was hooking up with him because he reminded her of Jimmy and she wanted to have sex with Jimmy again. That is, I think, part of it. But in this episode, she kills him by overdosing him on heroin and drowning him in a bath. In order to, because she's going to pass him off as Jimmy so that Jimmy will be declared dead so she can inherit the house. And then get a line of credit for the business or whatever, which I don't know how things worked back then, but I know from Silicon Valley, another HBO show, that you can have someone declared dead through the courts. I guess she just didn't. Maybe you do need documentation or something, and maybe he has to be gone for like many years before it works out that way. So maybe she had to kill this guy to have a body. But I was just like, damn. I did not see her as a murderer, which I don't remember if she was the one who was poisoning the Commodore. I think it was the maid. But I'm like, damn, this show is gratuitous at times. They go, if you see that little thing moving right there, that's my fiance in the room with me, but she doesn't want to be on camera. But that, fuck, I lost my train of thought. The show is like gratuitous with like murder and sex and all this stuff, and I don't know, I was like just shocked by it. It was pretty crazy. But those are the main storylines happening. We also have Gyp Rossetti, who again is just really like egregious, man. He's in trouble now because he lost men in Tarboro Heights, and so he's lost territory in New York, and his boss, Joe the Boss, is pissed off at him and like was gonna cut him loose, but he manages to convince him to fight a war against Rothstein and Nucky. So he's hanging on by a thread. He attacks a clergyman to steal the money from the church. We see that his wife and mother nag him all the time. So he's a funny character for sure, and definitely wild and deranged. But yeah, just a little bit, I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more restraint on the part of the show to be like, I mean, he's just like assaulting priests and stuff. Like, we get it. He's crazy. You don't have to like constantly be like, ugh, in your face about it. Have some subtlety for, and they do for certain storylines, but man, for like the sex and violence, there's no subtlety there. They go balls to the wall with it, which I know it's HBO, but you don't have to go all the way with that. But regardless, that's pretty much everything that I remember, at least from the episode. I think that's most of it. But we'll check out the next one soon, and I'll have more details for you guys then. So, see you then. And we're back with another episode. This time we just watched the eighth episode of season 3, The Pony. And pretty exciting episode in terms of what happens at the end here. But to start things off, we have Nucky working with what's his name? Gaston Means, that one guy who works for Doherty, and then the female attorney general or female DA, whatever you call them, federal prosecutor. And they have a plan to approach Andrew Mellon, who I think's a real person. They say he's one of the richest people in the world, and I think there's isn't that Carnegie Mellon Hall in New York or whatever it's named after him? But pretty sure he's a real person. He is the person in charge of the Department of the Treasury, which is in charge of enforcing prohibition. And Nucky approaches him with a deal to, arrest George Remus, get dirt on Harry Doherty, and also they're going to go into business, the bootlegging business together, which is a really interesting development to see him. Again, Nucky always has these dealings and these schemes going on to get over on people, and it usually works out pretty well for him. So we'll see if being in business with this guy works out, or although he's already had trouble even just dealing with Arnold Rothstein, so to now add this guy into the mix is that's someone I wouldn't want to make an enemy out of. So we'll see how that goes. But he's got all that going on. Meanwhile, Jillian is she's had Jimmy declared dead. Now she has control of the house and everything, although Luciano is still her partner. They're not getting along too well. And she really hates Nucky because she's finally had to confront the fact that her son's dead and it was Nucky who killed him. And so she tips off Gyp Rossetti and tells him where him and Rothstein are going to have dinner, which Rossetti obviously wants to kill both of them, so he blows up the whole building. Huge explosion, and it kills Billy Kent, most likely. We didn't see it, but she's pretty much dead, which I would say is sad, except, I don't know, it doesn't feel like we've gotten the same kind of development on her that even we had with someone like Lucy Danziger, who that guy brings him up. He basically says that she's another Lucy Danziger, which she doesn't know what that means. But yeah, I felt more for her than I really did for Billy, just because I don't know. We see her around, but I don't know. She just hasn't had the same kind of level of development. Obviously, she's only been here half a season versus the 2 we got with Lucy. But, she's gone, which, is sad for Nucky because he lost his little girl. It was weird. They had a scene, which I really like the scene, too, where he comes over and there's a guy there flirting with her and he beats him up, which was satisfying to see that. But I liked that it was you could tell he was super insecure about her, and he's a man who's used to being in control, right? He's a powerful man. He controls everything, and he liked this girl because she was kind of independent and stuff, but it's he can't handle that independence. It's kind of the same thing with Margaret, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it. That independence comes that he can't control her the way he wants to. but it kind of was undermined by the fact that they just immediately have sex again and everything's fine. And so I don't know. Maybe that story could have used little tweaks. Maybe this conflict should have happened a few episodes ago so they could have time to make up. But overall, just, I don't know, the pacing was a little bit weird there. Beyond just that, the title of the episode, right, we have Margaret Nucky's buying the pony for the daughter. I don't know how that really connects to everything else that's going on here, but something that's happened, I guess. There was an interesting development with Johnny Torrio, who's come back from Italy. He's very much kind of a, like, doesn't want conflict, is super relaxed, not really, like, taking things seriously. And so I think Al Capone, who has gotten a lot more serious and is handling everything for him, I think this is how he's going to basically be like, because he gave him a look at the end, like, I'm gonna kill you, basically, because why am I, kicking up to you when you're not even really, like, focused on any of this stuff? He's just too, I don't know, calm, relaxed, not concerned with the business. So, but we know Al Capone's gonna take over and run shit eventually. So, that is pretty much everything that I'm thinking of this episode. I don't know if there's anything I was specifically leaving out. Yeah, for now, I mean, that's pretty much everything. Mostly it's the ending, the explosion that's, super memorable. And the one detail I thought was kind of cool was we actually see Rothstein hurt for once and his hair's messed up, and it's cool to see him like that because he's such like a robot, like so composed all the time. So it was cool to see that he was able to be in like in a vulnerable position for once. It actually came off cool to just see him like that. So that's pretty much everything I had to say, and we're gonna check out the next one maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But I'll talk to you guys then. All right, back with another episode review. This time we're looking at the 9th episode of season 3, The Milkmaid's Lot. Now, the most of this episode takes place completely within the confines of the hotel. In fact, all of it might. I don't know if there's a scene I'm forgetting that doesn't, but essentially, after the explosion, Nucky has a concussion. He's very confused and disoriented, but he still has to deal with, Rossetti, and Rossetti. There's stuff in Tarver Heights actually, but he has to deal with like uniting all the other gangsters against Rossetti to go after him. But like I said, he's confused, disoriented, he doesn't know what's going on, he's agitated, definitely like not in the best mental state. Now, he is someone who has always been like in control of everything, and to kind of be in this weakened state, and especially dealing with like the trauma of losing Billy, is just he's not capable right now of like really handling everything he needs to do. And at the end here, he does manage to, he gets all the gangsters together, but they're not interested in helping him fight Gyp Rossetti, which I can understand that, right? I mean, because that's Nucky's whole thing, right? He's too, he's reckless and he should have prepared for this more. But you'd think that like Rothstein, who was nearly killed as well, would be against Rossetti because Rossetti wants to kill him too. Maybe he's thinking that like it was just against Nucky, it wasn't anything to do with him. But he sent, Luciano and Bugsy against to kill Rossetti. So Masseria is in some ways looking to take on Rothstein, although he doesn't like that Rossetti fucked up the assassination attempt again. So it's they're both in, like, I think, dangerous positions right now. They're both in, Nucky's alone, and Rossetti is in danger of losing favor of Joe, the boss. And there's a great little thing with, like, so the town has the uniform of Mad Anthony Wayne, who was a Revolutionary War general. By the way, he is the name Wayne from him is the inspiration from Batman. That's where they got the name from, Bruce Wayne. But so he steals the hat at the end, and he's like wearing it and stuff. Again, because Joe was like, one day you might be a good general, meaning right now he's not. Although I have to say, Joe is being very indulgent with him for continually being a fuck up. I get it, because it's like, he's already in this, so it's like there's no point in killing him yet. But he's continually been kind of a disappointment, so you'd think he would be a little bit not so supportive of him. But regardless, we also have a little storyline with Richard. He goes on a date with that one girl, and they kiss, and it's a nice moment. I'm glad they're together. But while he's gone, Tommy, I think that's the kid's name. I keep forgetting who it is, because there's Teddy, who's Margaret's son, and then there's Tommy Darmy. I think that's Tommy. He wanders around the whorehouse because no one's watching him, and he sees one of the girls having sex, and we can see that this is like kind of a traumatizing thing for him. I mean, probably the same thing happened to Jimmy. He was raised in the same environment, and so I think they're setting up that, like, Tommy's gonna wind up a lot like Jimmy. It just messed up by Jillian and the environment that he was raised in. So a sad little moment. I mean, it's not the worst thing that could happen to him. He could get killed or something, but still a little something you don't want a kid to necessarily have to go through at that young age. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to mention. The only other thing, I guess, again, is Margaret's stuff. She and Owen are thinking about running away together. So, I mean, there's not a real conflict there, I feel like, because why does Nucky even want her? I mean, I get it. She's his wife, and, he doesn't want his wife with another man or something, but it doesn't seem like he even really has a deep, close bond with her. Even something like Tony and Carmela, right? Tony wanted her around. He wanted to sleep with other women, but he had no, he wanted a wife too. And Nucky, I don't know, it just felt like, what did he want her to begin with? It was just like companionship. He wanted sex from her, and he would pay, just like Billy, right? That's what he wants. But somewhere along the way, it kind of got more serious than that with them, but I can't tell for what reason, because it doesn't feel like genuine kind of love. I mean, I guess it is, because he kept her in the room when he was talking about his plans. He trusts her for advice and stuff. But I don't know. Their relationship seems very weird to me. It seems like, usually it's like, relationships start out as like love and honesty or whatever, and then become, like Tony and Carmela, right, relationships of mutual interest. Like, the love dies and then it's just business. But this one, it felt like it was business to start, and then maybe Nucky's developed some kind of feelings for her, but Margaret fell out of those feelings. But I just don't know why he's continually kind of propping her up as like, yeah, you manage my money and my affairs and stuff, when I guess maybe he was just trying to reconnect with, Mabel, right? He wanted another Mabel. And she reminded him of her. But yeah, I think that relationship's just a little bit, I'm not sure where it's going or what it's all about, but there'll definitely be conflict, like if he finds out that Owen and her are sleeping together, because again, even if he's not necessarily wanting to be with her that way right now, he doesn't want some other guy to be. So yeah, we'll see where that goes, but I don't think it's going to end well for Margaret or Owen, because I know we've got at least 2 more seasons of Nucky, so I know he ain't going nowhere yet. But regardless, that is pretty much, everything I have to talk about this episode, and we'll check out the next one soon. So talk to you guys then. All right, we're back with another episode reaction. This time we're looking at the 10th episode of the 3rd season, A Man, A Plan, which in the episode was a palindrome that they were talking about. Don't know how much. I didn't even think about if there's a theme to that, besides the fact that Nucky is a guy with a plan that is kind of falling apart. So what happens in this episode? So Nucky plans on assassinating Joe Masseria, the main Italian guy in New York right now, who's backing Gyp Rossetti, and then taking out Rossetti later, which doesn't work out because Luciano and Meyer Lansky tip off Joe the boss what's going to happen, because obviously Nucky told them about the plans, and they want Joe to back them on a plan to sell heroin. So they're doing it kind of behind Rothstein's back, or I guess just Rothstein didn't want to back them at this time, but they're trying to get their whole heroin operation going. So it looks like this might be the start of where Luciano begins to work with Masseria, who we know he works with, in history. So it'll be interesting to see, if maybe he starts going against Rothstein. I don't know in real life if they had like real conflict between the two or anything. But it seemed like, he was looking for new backers, and so this might be where he starts to break away from Rothstein and starts to do his own thing more. We'll just see how that plays out. But the point here is that Nucky's attempt on when Masseria fails, and this is the death of Owen Slater. He is killed by Masseria and delivered back to Nucky in a box. It's sad for Margaret, who was planning on running away with him, and we actually learn she's pregnant with his son or his kid. We don't know yet, but so she is in a difficult situation because she was planning on leaving Nucky and going with him, and now that's all kind of fallen apart. And so what I think is going to happen is she'll just say, like, she'll get back with Nucky and say it's his kid, and they'll get back together now that she's got no other options. But Nucky did kind of notice that she was really heartbroken when Owen died, so I wonder if he'll put it together eventually, and how he'll react. But Nucky this whole season has been kind of falling apart. It's things are not going well for him. So we'll see how he deals with Rossetti, if he manages to or not. But with Joe, now that he knows Nucky was going after him, I foresee there being some real conflict between the two. Another interesting thing that's happening is, one, I guess I should say, Chalky comes to him with the idea to open like a kind of mixed race nightclub on the Boardwalk, which Nucky, he supports Chalky, but he also has to play politics with, like, there's a lot of white people who won't want that club there, and so yeah, we'll see if he manages to get it, but I kind of feel like they will, because that seems like a natural kind of way for there to be more like storylines involving Chalky. So we'll see. But also Van Alden, or George Mueller as he's going by now, he's selling alcohol to the Norwegians in the city. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but his wife was like, I make the alcohol so you can sell it and we can live here. And man, this woman is like, this is the girl. This is the fucking girl that you want, because every fucking time he's had a problem, she's been like on it. Like, that prohibition agent found you, let's fucking murder him. We'll make alcohol, we'll sell it under fucking Dino Bannon's nose. And she made all the other alcohol for them too. So it's like, this woman like takes care of business. Like, man, he's found himself a good one here. But he gets in trouble with Al Capone, who he was selling in their turf. So, but Al Capone doesn't like kill him. Instead, he wants information. So, I think he's gonna like help him kill Dino Bannon, and so Al Capone could take over. And I think Van Alden's gonna work for Al Capone now, which is gonna be interesting. It's funny. He was even reflecting in this episode how far he's fallen to working with bootleggers, just because he murdered that guy because he was like going fucking crazy. He's been like mostly sane since then though, so I don't know. Maybe it was just a temporary kind of lapse in judgment, but yeah, it's an interesting storyline they got going on there. And that's pretty much everything I think in this episode. I don't know if there's anything I'm forgetting. But yeah, I can't wait to see what goes down. There's only 2 more episodes here, so I can't wait to see what goes down with Nucky and Jip, because it's all coming to a head. You know, Jip keeps acting crazy. He kills this one guy's cousin for no reason. I think his men are going to betray him at the end, to be honest, because he's just so fucking erratic and unstable, and he's fucking things up too, and they're losing alcohol on the ocean, so no one's coming out of this, you know, particularly well. But we'll see how these next 2 episodes play out, so I'll talk to you guys then. Alright, we're back with another episode review. This time we're looking at the penultimate episode of Season 3, 2 Imposters. Now again, I don't quite know what that title is referring to. I'm sure I could look it up, but you know, this is a very exciting episode. Like, this is like the culmination of pretty much all the stories happening at once. Very dramatic, very tense, and a lot of just exciting action. So, after the failed hit on Masseria, Jip and his crew arrive in Atlantic City. They shoot up the hotel, and they're forced Nucky to be on the run. And you know, he's very, very much like without friends right now. Like, everyone's abandoned him. Margaret has gone with the kids, and Nucky does know about her and Owen. So we'll see if he takes her back, or if maybe she just runs away, or I feel like they're gonna have to have some kind of storyline there. But you know, he's forced to turn to Chalky, who is something of a friend to him, or an ally. Although I wish we would have seen more of Chalky and like more of their dealings, because really the only person who ever did something good for Chalky was Jimmy, who he got the KKK for them. So you know, it's their relationship is it's implied that, you know, that they have a bond there, and it's, I mean, not like a friendly bond, but it's like Chalky feels he's better with Nucky than anyone else. Although we haven't, I wish we would have seen more of like why that is. it would have made, because Nucky said no to him last episode, and he's forced to say yes now. But it's like, come on, he's only saying yes because he's forced to with the club. So I don't know. Maybe they'll explore the relationship more. I hope we get to see more of Chalky. I hope he doesn't get killed or anything. That would suck. I feel the same way as they did when Omar got it on the wire. So, but eventually though, Eli comes back from Chicago with Al Capone. He's got a bunch of guys. So now they have their own kind of army. And this is also tied to what's been happening with Jillian. So Jib's crew has arrived there. They've kind of made their home in her whorehouse. They're being very, disrespectful to the place, and she's doesn't like having them there. But she ends up kicking Richard out because she realizes what's been going on. That Richard wants to take Tommy away because he feels he's not safe there. And at the end of the episode, we see him take out all his guns. So I think he's going to go in like guns blazing into that whorehouse and get Tommy out. So we'll see how that happens. Because if that happens and weakens Jip, that would also give Nucky an opportunity to. I don't know if they'll coordinate it, but that'd be a double attack on him. So we'll see how that goes. But the interesting thing in this episode has been Nucky's relationship with Eddie, his butler, his German butler. Now, Eddie's been a character, throughout the whole 3 seasons, but we really never gotten to explore who he is or anything like that. He's just kind of devoted to Nucky. And even Nucky kind of realizes in this episode that, like, this guy has a whole life that, he doesn't know anything about. It's all he's been focused on is the, him serving him, and he doesn't know if this guy even has family. So that's interesting, and I wonder if they'll do anything with it or if they'll just fall by the wayside, because some things in this show don't ever like really pan out into interesting character moments. I feel like, for such an action-packed episode, I don't have a lot to say. It was all plot. Jib shows up at Chalky's place, offers some money. Again, Chalky says no. So, I think they've got enough guys and they're on the high enough alert that, like, Jib won't be able to pull anything on him. But I'd be like, man, if he killed Chalky, I would be so pissed off. But that's pretty much everything with that storyline. Although I just realized that there's some stuff with Luciano. So Luciano is selling heroin to this one guy that he knows. He gets arrested. Turns out the guy's a cop. At least I think it is. And so we'll see what happens with Luciano there. There's also some friction between him and Meyer Lansky, because Meyer did not want to move forward with the deal, but Luciano did, because they owe money to Masseria because they borrowed money from him. So we're seeing some friction there, and we'll see if that affects their relationship. Again, I feel like we've barely gotten to see him. I really want more Luciano stuff. I want more Al Capone stuff. I've said it before. I feel like the Nucky stuff is kind of the most boring of the storylines here. I'd love to see the other guys more. But we'll see. I'm sure, now that Al Capone's involved, there's going to be some dealings there, and we'll see how it also affects his relationship with Torrio. If Torrio approved this, or maybe Al Capone went behind his back. But like I said before, I think we're seeing some friction there too, that Al Capone's eventually going to take over and maybe even kill Torrio to take control. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm probably just going to watch the next episode here, and I'll talk to you guys when it's done. We'll talk about the whole season. And that's it. We finished the season 3 of Boardwalk Empire. This is the season finale, Margate Sands, which I think is maybe the area where Rossetti was at the end. I don't know, but an interesting climax. Essentially what happens is it's like betrayal on betrayal on betrayal. It's kind of interesting. So, um, to start things off outside of the boardwalk, in New York, um, Luciano was arrested and he gave up the stash of drugs. But it was actually Rothstein's men who did it so that Rothstein could get the heroin to split with Masseria in order to get him to betray Rossetti, in order to force Nucky to give him the Overholt distillery. So AR betrayed Luciano and Meyer Lansky. So on top of all that betrayal, he was kind of their mentor, but again, there is no honor among thieves. So he did all of that, but Nucky betrayed him. He knew that was coming. So he has, I guess, Al Capone and Chalky kill Masseria's men as they're leaving. And then he tips off Andrew Mellon to turn in Rothstein. I don't know what's going on here with that, to be honest. Like, so he's trying to basically indict Rothstein for running the place, but I thought Nucky was still going to run it. He was just going to give all the profit to Rothstein. But, and then also, what does Mellon, get out of this? I thought he didn't want to have anything to do with the bootleggers. Why would he want to bring attention on himself? Very confusing. I didn't know what was going on, but essentially there's all this like plotting going back and forth. It ends with Jip being, well, I guess he's actually not attacked by Nucky's men. He's attacked by Richard Harrow, who goes in there guns blazing like I thought he would, and just killed almost all of his guys, got Tommy out of there, delivered him to his girlfriend's place, and then it looked like he was going to leave because maybe he feels like he doesn't belong with them. He just wants Tommy safe. So we'll see what happens with Richard, but I do love him, as he's one of my favorite characters, and I hope he I'm pretty sure he'll still be around. I think he's a fan favorite. But so he does all of that. What's his name? Rossetti injects Jillian with heroin. She was about to stick him with it. He does it to her. So she doesn't die or OD, but I wonder if she's gonna become a heroin addict because she got a hot dose like that. So we'll see what goes on with her. She's kind of lost everything now. She's lost her grandson, now she's a drug addict. It's sad to see her. And it's interesting that they made her kind of like not a villain per se, but also not a good person per se. She's a victim, and so you'd think that they naturally would want to make her more sympathetic, but the whole thing with her son and how she abused Jimmy and stuff like that. She's a very complex character. I really like her. It's not easy to judge her for what she's done or who's responsible. Is it Nucky for basically allowing her to get raped? I don't know. It's a very complex character story, and I like it a lot. That's pretty much everything that happened. And then at the end, Nucky finds Margaret. I don't know how he found her, but he just finds where she's at, tells her to come home, and she says no. And I don't know, can I just be honest? I just don't want her to come back. I don't find her storyline interesting at all. I don't like her as a character too much either. Like, I get what her story is, but it's just like, can we make her a little bit more interesting? Can we have her involved with some more interesting stuff than just, need to get the hospital up and running, I don't know. It's just not that cool to me. So, that's where we're at the end of the season. It's hard to place my thoughts on it because the first two seasons, it didn't feel like it had like a tight kind of thematic story to it. Season 2, I guess the war between, Jimmy and Nucky, but it felt a little all over the place, whereas this one felt, okay, here's a character we're bringing on for the season, Jip Rossetti. He's going to be the villain, and we're going to tell the war between him and Nucky, which felt more tightly paced. Like, the plot moved along, is a little bit more exciting, a little bit more focused. So in that regard, it's a little bit better than the previous two seasons, but we also don't really get any strong character stuff this season. There's only a few, or maybe even one episode per season that I really like. I was like, oh, I felt emotional towards it. I told you one of them was the one when Richard gets his face paint, or gets the painting done of him. He talks about him and his sister. I thought that was very emotionally resonant. Didn't really have anything like that this season. It was more action heavy, and it was satisfying in that regard. But it also doesn't do any of the stuff like with Jimmy do another great kind of storyline. So overall, I'm torn. I don't know where to place it with these other seasons. I guess it's just different, not really better or worse. People have said to me that the first two seasons are the best seasons. Again, I had to watch the whole thing before I can make that judgment, but what I'm guessing maybe they're referencing is the fact that this show, as it goes on, leans more into like the exaggerated side, the sex, the murder, all that stuff. And it seems like the character stuff's going to become less and less important if the trend continues that I saw this season. But who knows? And I know, of course, the 5th season got rushed and is not as good because of that. But we'll cover that when we get there. So basically 2 more seasons to go. One of my lights just died again, so probably a good place to end it here. But thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I know they can be kind of rambly at times. I know it's not for everyone, but like I always tell you guys, it's basically me just giving you my journey on the show, and as my thoughts kind of change and evolve, and I notice things on first watch versus rewatch, all of that. So I hope you guys like this. I plan on keeping doing this for more shows. Mad Men will be in there. Peaky Blinders, I'm sure, will be in there somewhere, but I'm definitely not going to do it immediately after watching a show like this. Too similar of timelines there. But and we've got more shows, of course, going to be in that mix. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next reaction coming soon.